Yeah, I've got to. You know how I said in DMs the other day, I've got to do like an independent analysis kind of thing. I've got to do like an independent analysis of the math that makes it work for flat Earth, if you know what I mean.
Oh, who said that?
I said it to you in DMs. I said, you know how the Blodgett peak data? I said, oh, I've got to do this myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got to work out the math equation that makes it fit.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
But, so you can see, he was using Pike's Peak, which just happens to be at the right distance and height to match the elevation angle to itself using his method.
Yep.
But if the mountain were shorter and taller, or shorter and closer, or taller and farther, his method would return drastically different results, even though, according to his model, it's a straight line and it's um, the same elevation angle the whole way.
Smashed.
So
Smashy, smash, smashed.
this shows that his method would not work on a mountain at a different distance, I think.
Yeah.
Unless, I mean, it has to be just the right combination.
Does that lead us to the conclusion that he fudged the Blodgett peak data?
You know what I think happened? I think what happened is he got that 2 degree 30 minute thing, and that was in his brain. And then he was just looking at it's surprising to me that he didn't think to look at what Stellarium said for where he actually did the observation. I mean, that seems like that would be the first thing you'd do. And so I don't know whether he did and then saw that it wasn't right and just rejected it. But
Oh,
he was
he
looking
did.
around for things until he found an angle that was 2 degrees and 30 minutes.
He did try it at home, and it didn't give the number he wanted. So then he tried it on the mountain.
Yeah. So you know that. I haven't heard him say that.
I'm pretty sure I heard him say something along those lines. Not that it wasn't the number he wanted, but he said that it was the measure, or what Stellarium gave him from home was not valid because it was assuming a globe and there was refraction and all. He had a list of reasons why the number it gave at home was not valid, but that the one that it gave from the mountain peak was valid.
Right. And I suspect he probably really does believe that, but I'm pretty sure what happened, of course, was that first thing he did was the obvious thing, ask Stellarium. It gave him a number he didn't like. And then, the next thing you do is try Pike's Peak for, I see why you might want to do that. It doesn't make any sense, but I do see why if you're looking for something else, that's the next thing you do. And then you see that if you use the unrefracted angle, which also doesn't make sense, you get the result you're looking for. And I mean, I think that's really what happened.
Yeah, none of it looks good for him. I'll say that. Hey, Monkey. What's up, buddy?
I was pointing out today, I mean, it's really what he really wants to do is it's that unrefracted angle to the star is almost identical to the refracted flat Earth value to the peak. So what you really want to do is calculate the angle to the peak, and then add the refraction, which boosts it up about an arc minute or two, which puts it like within a tenth or two of an arc minute of what Stellarium says for the unrefracted angle. But the problem with that is that then you're using one refracted angle and one unrefracted angle. So better just to get rid of the 1 or 2 arc minutes that you gain.
Right, and if the mountain had been a little bit closer and shorter, or a little bit farther and taller, he could have then got a closer match by turning refraction on. But in this particular distance, it was closer with it turned it off. So that's what he did.
Yeah, I suspect that's probably true for any distance, there will be an altitude of the mountain. Maybe, there will be some altitude that will work at any distance. And it will work will work if you do that. What you'd really like, let's see, is that even possible? Because, of course, what you'd really like to be able to do is go to the mountain and see a refracted. This must be true. Yeah, you must be able to do this. See that the atmosphere on angle from stellarium is the angle you want. There's got to be some circumstance in which that would be the right thing. And then that, you could make a stronger case for it, even though it would still be wrong.
Yeah, with the atmosphere turned on and it set at the coordinates of his house, then it gave almost exactly the expected globe angle to the mountain.
Oh yeah, it's within
matching,
1 arc minute. Yeah.
Oh, even closer than that, I think, matching what he measured with a real theodolite.
So I calculated those things and put them in the PDF that I put together, and I got 18.8, 2 degrees 18.8 one way and 2 degrees 19.4. I can't remember which is, I can never remember which is which, but they were 0.6 of an arc minute off. And that seems reasonable to me. I think the refraction thing is certainly uncertain to a few tenths.
Here's the moon through the eyepiece.
Oh, now that's got to be CGI. So look at those shadows. Look at those CGI shadows on that moon.
Yeah. If I move to the side, you can see the tree branches kind of interfering. It only works right in the center. All right, let's play a game called How Long Will It Take Seafoam to Polar Align His Telescope? Because I give it 15 minutes. Because I suck at it.
Hey, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, I just got done sharing my telescope. So unfortunately, you missed that. That's fine. And right now I'm working on getting my telescope polar aligned so that I can show you guys a couple exposures of a galaxy that I enjoy photographing.
Negator. Did you hear that Mike Heffron got a second theodolite to measure the angle from his house, and he got 218?
Hey,
Negative.
can't talk a whole bunch.
Yeah. But anyway, survey not required.
Okay, yeah, cool. Sorry, I didn't have a whole lot of luck with that. I've also been very busy and traveling the last 2 weeks, but
Cool.
interesting.
Yes.
Do you know, Roof, that I heard him talking about that, and I asked him, and he brought up this. First of all, it was really interesting that Jesse actually put me onto this. The manual said something about correcting something, and I asked him if he could send me photos of the manual where it says that correcting it by 1 arc minute per 3.7 kilometers. And I don't know if you've heard that number before. You probably do. I'm a little newer at
you
this.
worked it out. You worked it out.
But it's
Right?
exactly 8 inches per mile squared.
Yeah.
It's really
My
good.
goodness. And Jesse was sort of asking him in the stream the other day, how does a theodolite know how far it's looking to make that correction? It doesn't. So it was yeah. You saw the PDF I sent to you last night, right?
Yeah.
It's like why is a theodolite measuring flat Earth minus drop due to curvature? I don't know.
Well, I spent some time today looking for the manual for that theodolite online and trying to find where it talks about that, because it has to be something, of course, that is, once you have used the theodolite to find some, the height of something, don't forget to. I mean, I don't know how you would exactly use that, and it has, as you say, it has nothing to do with the theodolite, because the theodolite doesn't know anything about distances.
What they usually get confused with is total stations, like where you put a reflector, like a laser reflector, a few hundred yards away. And Jesse's got theodolites that do EDM, don't you, Jesse?
Yep.
Or total stations, yeah.
Yeah, I've got some of each.
Nice.
Dr. Heffron did later explain, because I asked him, where did you get that number from, and he said he measured the elevation angle to different mountains at different distances and noticed that there was this error, assumed a flat earth, and noticed this error, and then calculated, and that's how he figured out the needed correction rate, was by measuring the missing height and then assuming it was error in the instrument and then saying he has to
Wait a minute, so you mean he himself got the 1 arc minute per 3.7 kilometers?
That's what I understood, is he did
that's even better.
because he assumed a flat earth and assumed that since he was measuring drop over distance, it must be error in the instrument.
The surprising thing about that is I mean, I couldn't believe it when I just took 8 inches per square mile and worked out, and it was exactly 1 arc minute per 3.7 kilometers, which is weird, because if you didn't do the refraction thing, it should turn into more like 6 or 7.
So his theodolite, he did not do face right, face left readings. He just did face left only. So his theodolite was probably off a little bit, which would not have been a problem if he's doing face right, face left. And there's a reasonable chance that his theodolite was, the vertical index was off a little bit by about roughly what his average refraction was, because he claimed to read angles that corresponded to a globe without any refraction.
Yeah, that's what's weird about it, right? I mean, the fact...
That's why his rate matched to 8 inches per mile squared, because his instrument was reading a little bit low.
Yeah,
so
that's
weird. Yeah.
What's that, Roohif?
By about an arc minute. But what does it say about someone's state of mind, right? Where you measure it and go, but the Earth's flat, so it must be an error in the instrument. Like, how does that happen in the brain?
Yeah, That's a good question.
Jeez. Was it you, Jesse, that said he's the new Bob Nodell? Who was that? I think that was you, wasn't it? Valid.
That's a
Whoopsie, this one
double
measures
star.
Earth curve. My instrument must be wrong.
Whoopsie tipsy.
Almost saw something pop there up there.
Oh, you weren't masturbating, were you?
Hope not.
What's his
See
name?
if I can get.
On CNN. Jeffrey Toobin. Jeffrey Toobin was masturbating on a Zoom call on CNN. Hilarious.
What?
Didn't you hear that? Jeffrey Toobin was on a.
I hope I'm not
like a-
hot miking with the sound of my telescope moving.
Who's Jeffrey Toobin?
CNN commentator. But they had a Zoom call amongst them, and he thought the Zoom call had finished, and he gets his cock out and starts watching porn.
Wow.
They took him off air for I don't
Oh
know, 3
yeah,
to 6 months. Yeah.
I heard about that. I don't think he thought the Zoom call was over though. I think he thought he was just
Muted
his
or something.
camera wasn't on. I think it was in the middle of it.
Oh shit, that's worse.
Well,
Yeah.
you've got to put that flap down when you're done.
Yeah, I've got one of those things. Where is it? Here we go. So my daughter hates being on camera. So I've got this little thing, 3D printed last year, and yoink, like that.
Now you just need to put a little hole in one side so you can. That's a joke, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, the government has the magic mirror.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, but we see too far. We just see too far. Flat.
So that the diagram that I did today, I know it's probably not the most compelling thing in some ways, but I wanted to put something that really showed the light from the star, the actual path that it follows, not not with these curvy lines. That it's the same basic thing that you did, but with the actual line. And what I did was I ended up, that diagram actually shows the light curving 15 times as strongly as it does, and it looks razor sharp. Light comes into the atmosphere relative to the horizontal at Heffron's Place at 2 degrees and 5 minutes, and then gets to 2 degrees and 15 minutes-ish when it gets to Pikes Peak, joins the light from Pikes Peak at that point, and comes down another 3 or 4 on the way down. It curves another 3 or 4, gets deflected upward by 2, as we talked about.
Yes.
But it's really interesting when you really draw that rate to scale to appreciate the fact that those are very visible differences when you're looking along the line. If you just look parallel to it there, that line looks razor sharp. You talk about bendy light. That is not very bendy light.
Yeah, it's pretty tiny.
You know, I went to one of the Astronomical Society events here in Colorado Springs a few months ago at Garden of the Gods, south of, well, I guess east of Pikes Peak. I wonder
I've been there. And to Pikes Peak. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if there's, I don't know if there's any way we could utilize those guys and their high-end telescopes, but
So they're east of Pikes Peak? I think Jesse's diagram that he had before, like if you are not too far from Pikes Peak, yeah, like I said, I've got to work out the math as to what makes it work on flat Earth. So then you can say which combinations don't work.
Yeah, I think
Combinations
if
of
you're
distance and height.
if you're working only with unrefracted rays, that would be a pretty simple math problem. The refraction gets difficult because the higher you get, it's a really nonlinear amount of deviation.
Yeah, I'm starting. You know how you did the standard atmosphere and then expressed it as a number of arc seconds per kilometer, or whatever. I'm starting to think that's a better way of expressing it than using the radius multiplier on a globe.
Well, I think it's the same thing. I do think it's exactly the same thing. But I don't know if you saw the thing I sent you. I was thinking more about that myself too, and real. For instance, well, so here's what I wanted. Once you made me understand that I need to divide that by 2, and that is the same thing as your radius multiplier method. That. So I was thinking, okay, so how do I understand that with light from the sun getting lifted by exactly the amount that it's bent, right? Light comes into the atmosphere, gets bent down by about 1/2 degree, and that 1/2 degree is how much the sun gets lifted. It's not half of that, it's the whole thing. And the reason it's the whole thing is because all of that refraction happens in the last 300 kilometers. That's important. If all of the refraction happens at the end of the line, then the lift is all of the refraction. If it's evenly spread over the line, then you get half of that refraction.
Okay. I did notice, how Heffron brings up Bennett's astronomical refraction and applies it to Pikes Peak for some reason. I did notice that his formula assumes that you're at sea level as well.
Right.
So,
Because it's just a formula for how much refraction you get, right? There's no understanding. I mean, I kind of, I confess it was, I didn't, of course, I kind of expected Stellarium would take that into account, but I didn't think about, and actually I didn't really realize how important it is. When you're down, that last 1,000 meters makes an enormous amount of difference because the light travels through, 70 or 80 kilometers. Light at the horizon travels through the last 70 or 80 kilometers, right down there at the bottom, and there's just more bending down there. You get rid of those first few thousand kilometers. You get rid of, first few thousand meters. You get rid of almost all of that refraction. Half of it at least.
Accept. Accept.
All right. Well, good night, gents.
Good night.
Well, looks like I got my scope polar aligned, which is good.
Nice.
I don't know if it's focused right now. I should be pointing at the moon instead of the stars. But hopefully I did good polar aligning.
Hey, don't let it get boring here. All my favorite people.
Oh,
Oh,
Hey,
what's
Dan.
up, Dan?
Negator's probably my first sub. And he's the first to show up on any live stream ever. My biggest fan. I'm not right, Nick.
I'm so well appreciated.
Besides,
How you doing, Dan?
you're on your usual schedule. Every 14 months you come back.
How you doing, Dan? I'm outside doing my telescope.
Oh, I was
Gonna
worried.
be like,
Coming
I was
from-
worried about you.
Oh, sorry, wrong chat.
yeah, I know. Dan can be a little overprotective at times.
No, it could be my favorite people here. Oh, let's see.
And your favorite person.
It was you, Rue, Neg, and there was someone else. Oh, Jesse.
Yeah, everyone loves Jesse. Jesse's the
Just-
golden child.
Jesse, I like the idea of Guess the Glober versus the Flat Earther. I just think there should be sort of a daily run on that.
What happens in 5 years when there's nothing left to talk about? And nobody here.
What do you mean, Negator? Do you think the government will have implants in everybody by then? Okay. Anyone else think that the government intends to have implants in everybody? An RFID implant?
You want to see my RFID implant? Seriously. You ready?
Oh yeah, I think you did mention you had
There you go.
something.
It's not implanted, but it's attached. So there's a little RFID chip in there.
Yeah, great technology.
Yeah.
Really great technology.
Is it a real-time glucose meter?
It is. It's exactly what it is.
Oh, that's cool.
Several
Oh,
friends
that's
of mine.
fantastic.
Several friends of mine have that, and they really like it. They sit there with
Yeah.
their phone on the kitchen table while they're eating, watching their numbers change.
Yeah. It's actually
So
pretty fascinating.
that prevents having to resort to using a needle?
I never have low blood sugar, really. Unless I've fucking been exercising for like an hour. Yeah, it's always high. Snack right. Snack right. Okay.
Yeah, thank goodness for medical advances. And I'm glad you're doing well, Roohif.
Yeah, I'm polar aligned really good here. I'm just getting aim, and then I can show you guys an exposure.
That's cool.
So, Mark Sargent says that Jaron was voted most likely to be compromised by money, and that he not only was paid off, that he's on a like everyone who he recruits, he gets paid even more. Mark said that Patricia bought a Mercedes with the money from this, and that her coming back was a secret plot to undermine us. And I've never heard Mark noticed Mark outwardly attacking or lying like that before, and it's wild. It's so out of character for him.
Sounds like he's the one that's compromised.
I know, totally. And I'm blown away. I'm like, I can't believe it.
Who would be making the deposits? The CIA?
I don't know. Whoever funded Duffy.
Well, where do you think all that NASA funding goes?
Good point.
Yeah, somebody made that point to me about the aerospace industry, the people that would really, be worried about, let's say, if there was fakery or something. And when Behind the Curve came out, the guy had like 100 grand into it, maybe more with post production. But imagine he'd have been thrilled to break even, like for 100 grand or 200 grand. And imagine how easily a defense contractor budget, could have doubled that and said, look, here's 400 grand, just sort of twist the ending back and some violins and bring it back to earth and let's get out of here. And he went, okay, and it just like, it's so little money to throw, a couple $100,000 at something on a big budget.
Oh, yeah.
So
for sure.
it's really hard to imagine how any of this really could have been entirely scripted. I just don't see it. I feel like a wrestler though, like championship wrestling, you know? Like they say wrestling's fake and they say flat earth's fake, but it wasn't fake to me. It was a lot of work, a lot of effort, you know, and a lot of hoo-ha or Yahoo, hoo-ha, whatever.
So
Um,
was? Did I hear the was in there?
oh yes.
Oh, can I claim you then as a Globe convert and get
I
the
don't think
referral
so. I
bonus
don't
from
think
that?
so because I'm like still a proud flat earther, so I won't really use the word convert. And I sort of like I say that Jaron didn't flip, that flat Earth is flipped, and it just I remember when it had a lot of warmth, and there's a few people with integrity that have struggled. You know, like Paul on the plane left years ago, and Robbie left years ago, and Patricia left years ago. Everyone's forgetting that, and fucking Karen left now. But they're not. You know, the fact is that flat earthers can ignore any fact, and they do,
Right.
and that's really fucked up. And I apologize for the lack of sport in that, because otherwise, you guys are all good sports, you know. And when you just have to go, I gotta go. I can't talk to this guy. That's when it's fucking out of control. When flat earthers had questions, we kicked ass. When we had answers, we sucked ass. And that's, you know, it was a lot more fun when we were asking questions than pretending to have answers.
Great point. Great points.
It was huge. And I've been talking to a lot of people behind the scenes, like these people, you know, and it's like, it's really backstabby and sad what the, what do you call it? The damage control here is really gruesome.
You said Karen quit. What did Karen quit?
Mark's show and and doing Flattoberfest.
Oh. Well, she always said to be the last one, but then she'd do another last one. So there might still be another.
No, none of that happened. I don't know where you got that. She never said that.
Oh,
She
okay.
only had
I,
one last one, and that was it.
oh, okay. Is that the one that got blown away?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.